Hey everybody, welcome to Enjoying Orange Slices Thanksgiving edition. We got a big show for you today. We get a letter, we get a letter, we get some mail. Both go to games. That's pretty exciting. We both went to games this week and we missed our last week, and then we have something special we're gonna tell you. I got a pimple right there. That's pretty exciting. What else? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's listen to the show, shall we? Listen to the show. Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. Well, hello, Jeff Sharples. I missed you last week. We didn't get to do a show. This week we do the big Thanksgiving special. Big Thanksgiving special. Is this the big Thanksgiving special, Jeff?
This is it. This is the big week. So big that we needed 2 weeks to prepare. It's the start of the holiday season. So Lord Bagg, and no one likes holidays more than we do. So that's why we had so much. We hopefully we can get through it all.
I'm gonna ask right now, are you cooking a turkey? What are you cooking?
Well, yeah, we're doing a turkey. I think we're doing I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag early.
Don't let it out. Don't let it out yet.
Okay, I'm not gonna let it out. We'll talk about turkeys later, but yes.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do one the day afterwards or something like that. What do you guys eat? What's your big Thanksgiving meal that you guys enjoy? Because I know it used to be different for you guys.
Yeah, well, we got friends down here. Different. Well, my mom used to do a turkey, and it was always awesome. It's different here because our really good friends down here, their daughter is in a soccer tournament in SoCal. And they have to go down Thanksgiving Day. So we're going to have it's like 2 Christmases. We're going to have 2 Thanksgivings down here. Wednesday, that's going to be just lights out. That's always a big party. And then Saturday, I think we're doing the other one because there's a special event on Saturday.
Question for you. On the Wednesday one, are you guys doing prime rib like you usually do?
We got a friend that we find out after all these years doesn't like turkey. So we have prime rib. I'm like, hey, no problems. Slice and dice it up. So turkey and prime rib. I know the Food Channel is calling. They're on hold right now. They're like, we need you guys to move to our channel. Please tell us about your turkey and prime rib.
This is a great show. I'm hinting towards Jeff tell us about your prime rib that you guys have every year. And he's just like, people are like, what the fuck is going on in this show? This is a hockey show. Well, guess what? Canadians came down and they ruined American Thanksgiving. We carved up a prime rib, and that's the way it's going to go. A week. We didn't get to do last week because I ended up traveling to Vancouver. And then you were traveling at the beginning of the week, and we missed last Tuesday. So a lot of hockey happened. I ended up was doing a show for the 82 Canucks, who went to the finals and lost to the juggernaut, the Islanders. Do you remember much about? I remember just the way everybody was like, just the Canucks. I remember that for some reason. I remember that excitement. But do you remember much about that Canucks team?
Yeah, I remember a lot about it. And if I'm not mistaken, that's where the white towel that in the Chicago series that Richard Nielsen, who was the head coach, held up a stick with a white towel and a couple other guys on the bench because the officiating in the Chicago stadium in one of the games he thought was so bad. And now you see all these towels in all these buildings and people are waving them around. A little hats off. Yeah, I think it did. And so,
do you know why Nielsen was on the bench?
You know, that's a really good question. Didn't he replace?
He replaced
Harry Neal. Yeah, Harry Neal.
And Harry Neal was suspended during the regular season after going into the stands and fighting with fans in Quebec. And the team went on he was suspended. The team went on a winning streak, and he didn't come back. He let Roger Nielsen take over the team, and he went just as general manager. Did you know?
Yeah, and they were really good. That was a hell of a team. Great goaltending. That was the King, wasn't it? King Richard Brodeur, wasn't he there?
King Richard Brodeur and his DRs. That was back when your goalie equipment didn't have to match. He had DNR pads and like a Cooper glove and I think a Spalding blocker. It was awesome. He was out of control, that guy. And he was the last of the Well, he wasn't the last. I think the last small goalie might have been Mike Vernon. I think he was the last. Now everybody's over 6 foot.
Well, that is very true. Most of the goaltenders in the NHL now are very tall. Yeah.
I teased them though. I said I did the show for them. I think there were 6 of them. Tiger Williams was there. I got to meet him. He punched me in the chest several times and told me I was funny. But I told them, I said, thanks for teaching a bunch of kids in British Columbia. You can almost make it. And it was funny because they had a parade for the 82 Canucks. They had a parade after they didn't win. They had a parade for them. And when the 94 Canucks and the 2011 Canucks lost, they had riots. So that's how Vancouver changed.
Yeah. Well, they were, you know what, going back to 82, which I'm sure the majority of our listeners and followers might or might not, probably don't remember, but this was a team that kind of just got on a roll in the playoffs, very similar to what Montreal did last year, and put it all together. And I will say this, and I don't know if Kevin McCarthy was there then, or was that your thing? Because I think he might still be coaching, I believe, but he broke his ankle in a pregame skate or a practice just before they took on the Islanders. And the Islanders in the early 80s were in the middle of winning 4 cups in a row before a team by the name of the Edmonton Oilers and a kid by the name of Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier showed up. Yeah, they're not very famous, those guys. And they took it and said, we'll take the cup for 4 or 5 years. But the big thing with the Canucks were they lost McCarthy just before the final series, and that really hurt them because they were right in there with the Islanders, but the Islanders just had all that experience. And, of course, the Islanders had the superstars. Yep, and Mike Bossy. The first game, I think, went to double or triple overtime in the Stanley Cup Finals, and Mike Bossy scored the winner, and that put everything on their heels. But, yeah, it was a great team. Some real characters with that team. One of my old defense partners, Harold Sneps, was part of that team. Snepsy, great guy, and tough as nails. And so a real that team came out of nowhere. And if you're looking over Ian's shoulder, you can see their uniforms in the background with the big V for Vancouver.
I'm gonna put this. Arthur Griffiths was there, and he owned the Canucks at the time. And they told me those jerseys were done by a psychology firm, and the V was for Vancouver. But here's what they came up: how the V went up, it made the shoulders look big, and how the V came down, it made your waist look small, and made everybody look at your penis while you're skating.
Well, hey, you always want to go vertical if you can, right?
Yeah.
Stay vertical.
Here's an interesting question. I'm going to ask this question. We're 7 minutes in and we haven't talked much. I'm going to bring it up right now. Do you think if the Edmonton Oilers had not had Gretzky and I think they were I don't know how they all came together, but they came that way. Do you think that the Islanders would have been one of the greatest teams ever of all times and would have got all the accolades that Edmonton got? Because they were crazy good.
Well, they were one of the. I think you could argue they were one of the best, but the one thing that they had was they had the experience and they were gritty. They could muck it out. Edmonton came in with this new style of just flying around the ice. Mm-hmm. Remember when I was in Edmonton practicing with those guys? Gretz was in LA at that point, but with Messier and with Anderson and all those guys, they could fly, and they practiced as fast as they played, and those guys all really got along really well. And so the Islanders did the same thing. I think you just had a little bit of a younger, maybe not, I wouldn't say hungrier, but maybe just a little bit of a more skilled team. And they had some tough guys there too, right? They had Semenko. They had then a few years later they had Marty McSorley, they had McClellan, so they could play anyway. Yeah, I mean McTavish was a guy that was a really smart player, and they had guys that knew their jobs, and nobody was coming to the rink in Edmonton guessing what their job was. And the same thing was with the Islanders, but the Oilers were able. I think they played the first year the last year the Islanders won the cup, I think they beat Edmonton, and then the next year they played again, and then Edmonton beat them, and away they went. And that was kind of the end of the Islanders for a while. But I might be wrong on that. I think I'm warm, at least lukewarm on that. But yeah, Edmonton changed the game. But then, you would have thought this high flying action that you kind of see during the regular season now would have carried over, but it didn't. And once Edmonton started to kind of cool off and move some of those players out of there, the league kind of went back to more clutch and grab and slow the game down. And you see that now in the playoffs, but you don't see it in the regular season. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes as we go through this year and into the playoffs, because they're starting to call some of the stuff they didn't even call last year. So we'll see if they stick to it.
That'd be good if they stuck to it. I can't remember. Was Tim Hunter, was he drafted by Edmonton or was he drafted by Calgary? You remember?
That's a good question. I don't remember, but I do. Obviously, Tim Hunter played in Calgary, and we were just talking about him the other day. Here's a guy that was another just grinding forward, tough as they come, and he has gotten to coaching. And I was, from everything you hear about him, he's a fantastic coach. Yeah, I don't know. Did you saw him last weekend, didn't you?
I saw him, and he looked like he could still play. That's how he's just as tough as nails looking guy, and just still in great shape and floating around there. Who knows? He might end up as the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. It goes. I heard a great story from you about Tim Hunter, about how tough he was and how he'd fight. Tell that story.
Yeah, so thank God I never got tangled up with him, because he would have killed me. But one of the guys was telling me that played with him, what he used to try and do is he just grab a hold of you, and then he'd bring both your hands down together and basically tie your hands together and grab them with one hand and start to beat you within an inch of your life. So think about how strong a guy is that he can bring. He gets both your hands together, then he holds your jersey from both hands, basically handcuffs you, and then he decides he's gonna go to town. So that's what they used to say about him.
Tim Hunter lost one fight, and it was to a man with one arm because he didn't know how to do it. He didn't know how to fight.
Yeah, it was. I heard that story, and of course, he was part of the Battle of Alberta back in the day with Marty and Semenko and all those guys, and then he played in Vancouver, right? And so, but just a guy that you hear about, you knew how tough he was, but the guys loved him. And then you hear how good a coach he is now. I'd love to see him get a chance. He was close a couple of years ago. I don't know if he's still interested in coaching at the NHL level, but we'll see what happens.
If you look at his coaching resume, it is very impressive. I looked it up the other day. He's got gold medals. He's got Stanley Cup cups on there, and he's been all around. And obviously, it's time for him to take a team. Let's move on. Let's talk about a game I saw this week, and then a game that you went to. I went and seen Vancouver. By the way, they seem to be cutting down a tree in my backyard with a chainsaw, and we don't have any trees here. I went to Vancouver, Colorado Avalanche, and there is trouble in Toontown. Vancouver is definitely just playing individual hockey and seems to have two separate sides of the dressing room, and poor Demko is just trying to keep them in it, and he's not getting any help. I think the biggest problem is you got names like Quinn and Thatcher. I think that's the biggest problems. You need some Kens and some Trevors in there. Anyways.
All right. I think, one of the problems in Vancouver is the whole town's ready to trade the whole team and fire the coach and GM, which isn't that far out of the norm. Up there, they're very. You see that in a lot of Canadian cities, a lot of emphasis on the team. You look at a team like Vegas or say in LA, there's other things going on in town. You got the Raiders here. You got all kinds of teams in LA. So you touched on it before. You might not get as much press or as much, when things are going bad, you don't, they're not downing as much. But in Vancouver, that's kind of the only game in town. I mean, you have the MLS soccer, but that's the big deal. And of course the BC Lions football team. But I think the problem in Vancouver is, they're still riding off this team that got to the second round in the bubble in Edmonton a couple of years ago. and maybe the cart got in front of the horse. And I thought with the addition of Connor Garland and Oliver Ekman-Larsson,
Connor Garland stands out, though. He stands out. He's just like he stands out on that team. And also the other guy that stands out is Höglander, and they're the smallest players they have on that team, and they're standing out like that. You can see there's definitely a grind there, but the other guys aren't. So,
well, I watched Vancouver play a lot. I haven't seen them in person like you have, but I'll give my 2 cents and then move on. Number one, I thought their power play would be top 5. It's not even close. It's awful right now. They got a couple goals the other night, I think, against Winnipeg, but not good enough. And that's a problem because that's where your skill guys get all their cookies and ice cream right there. And then that pumps them up to play better 5-on-5. And it takes a lot of pressure off other parts of your game. And specifically, your goaltender has been great. That's a big problem I see there. And then the other problem I see in Vancouver is just their puck management is horrific. Way too. Just some of the decisions are extremely poor. And I feel like Fox News right now, fair and balanced, right? So we got to be fair. We want to give them compliments when we do, because I'm not big on carving up everybody, but their puck management has not been good enough. And then some of the plays they're making in their own zone are just kind of hope plays, which are really lazy plays. And until they start to get a little bit harder on the pucks, getting them in, getting them out, simplifying their game a little bit, they're going to be in trouble. And they go on a 5-game road trip now. So if it's time to turn it around, they're going to have to get it turned around here in the next 5 games. And they could come back 4-1 or even 3-2 would be a great, kind of get them going again.
The problem with it, here's the 2 things that stood out to me. Not skating, like guys just not, pucks being shot from above the circles, the hash marks, and only one player to beat, and just really with muffins coming at them. And then also Pettersson is, I don't know what's going on. He's not seeing the game from 2 steps ahead where he used to. Now it seems like it's real time for him. And I don't know if that's because he's overthinking, but I watched him skate himself into the corner. I was like, what just happened there? I can do that for $3 million. I can do it. So it's very, when somebody has that talent, you're just like, I don't know if he took all that pressure on himself because he got the money and now he's overthinking everything. And it seems like they might keep everything in-house and not letting him maybe get some help with his thought process from outside. But yeah, definitely trouble because he's such a great player. When you watch him think from 2 steps ahead, it's just like, it's unbelievable. Now it's not, it's just, he's a regular player. So,
yeah. Well, we don't know. We don't know what's going on. I will say this. Normally when you see a player that's off for a longer term, like instead of a game or 2, there's 2 things. Obviously, number one is there's injuries involved. Number 2, there's something going on off the ice, or there's some issue, there. Because a guy like Elias Pettersson is, this kid is totally next level. He could be a top 20 guy in the league, top 25 player in the league, I think. It's not there right now. Love watching him play. I hope he can figure it out, because if he gets it going, he can carry Vancouver himself. Their goaltending is more than good enough. Their defense, you know what? They've kept the score down last few games. That's what they need to do, but they need to get some more offense. And a guy like that, if he got feeling a little bit better about himself, or maybe he's just not healthy right now, that would really help.
He's got Marner's disease. That's what I'm going to call him. He's got Mitch Marner's disease.
Okay.
Remember Marner's was over, couldn't get anything going? Terrible. That was a great joke. Anyways, let's move on from the greatest team ever, Vancouver Canucks, to the second best team, the Las Vegas Knights. You went and seen a game, and how was that?
I saw 3 games last week. So
look who's got
well, this is a hockey podcast, but if this keeps going the way it is, we might have to continue to talk about prime rib and turkey. But so I got to see 3 games this week with the Knights, and saw a bunch of other games on TV and all that. But I just want to talk about some teams that people might not see a lot, or obviously if out west here and in Australia, we don't see them. We only see them once a year. But Carolina came in on, I believe it was Tuesday night, and they are something else. The pace that they play at is insane. But the one thing that they do is pressure all over the ice. They are relentless. They were so much fun to watch. Svechnikov, Aho, Natchez, Slavin on the back end, along with Brady Shea.
Slavin.
These guys they play just like their coach used to play. Work and they're so structured. Vegas did a good job hanging in there, but it was too much.
How is Kakameni, the guy they picked?
Yeah, the kid from Montreal. Kotkaniemi. He was good. If I look at them down the middle, and with Svechnikov, the other guy they got from Florida last year, Trocheck, and Kotkaniemi, along with Stahl, they are really solid down the middle. And Stahl was outstanding too. So look for Carolina to really be there all year. Their goaltending was very good on the trip. I think they wrap up. I don't know if they're in Seattle or they wrap up this week on the West Coast, or they might actually in Buffalo. They travel all the way across the country, wrap in Buffalo, but they're very good. Detroit was the other team. Got to give a quick hello to them. I really like what's going on in Detroit. There's a spark there again. The thing that happened to them the other night, they played the most games in the league, looked a little fatigued, and again, puck management wasn't great, but they have some young players. The Sider that plays D for them, Rasmussen, who's a forward, and there's one other kid who slips my name right now. But look, the drafting in Detroit, the Stevie Y project is on schedule, and really like what's going on with them. So the last team was Columbus, off to a good start. Another team we don't talk much about, but Renski and some of those other guys are playing really well. I like Voracek the other night too. They got him in a trade for Cam Atkinson from Philly. Voracek looked good the other night, but Vegas found a way, and they've been really resilient to come back, and they got points in the last two games and beat Columbus late. So it was good. It was a lot of fun last week, and of course next week we'll talk about that as we go on. But
we'll pick up the pace right now. I thought the Islanders were going to be where Carolina is this year, and the Islanders are struggling quite a bit. They opened their arena this weekend. It looks like it's going to be a fun barn, but to start off with a loss is never good. What do you think the problem is there on the island?
Yeah, well, they lost again last night to Toronto, and so the problem in the island is not getting any scoring. Their goal differential is a -16, which is unheard of for a Barry Trotz team, and especially the Islanders last few years. So have a look at the standings now. They're down there at the bottom. They got a ton of home games the second half of the year. I'd expect them to get their act together, but they just can't score right now. They just, I don't know. They've played their first 13 games on the road. Coming back, everyone kind of expected a big jump start, and the car just won't turn over for them right now. So they are a team. I know I said I thought they'd be a first place team by the time we got to the Olympic break. That's going to be a big ask right now. So I'm reeling from my prediction of Vancouver having a top 5 power play. We'll see where that goes. And also from the Islanders off to the kind of start they are. No one foresaw it, but goal scoring is a big problem for them right now.
Definitely a big problem with them and on the island, and Barry Trotz, not a Barry Trotz team right now. Have they bought out of his program, or is it just what do you think it is?
I think there's probably it really, not in the like. I don't think everyone loves playing for Trotz. He'll get it figured out. They'll get it figured out. But they started on the road, and then they're in this brand new barn, and there's just this has been a real herky jerky start for them. But them in Vancouver, not that I thought.
Also, all their games, their first 20 games have been on the road, right? So that's something that I guess they might not have just rested the way they needed to rest. So
just goofy. It's a goofy schedule because they had to get the building done. But them in Vancouver, not as much with Vancouver. I expected more to Vancouver, but those are my two teams that I look at and go, you know what, pretty disappointing start. I do believe the Islanders have it within them to get themselves back playing above the water again, but we'll see what happens.
And Ottawa takes a week off. They decide that they're all going to kind of get COVID and hang out together. It's very interesting. I didn't know. So there's a couple of players that are not tested. If you're not tested, you have to get not vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, you have to get tested every day. If you're vaccinated, you get tested every 3 days. And I've heard they've had a lot of problems with false positives. I think they should be more concerned with the false negatives. I had it when I had COVID. I got negative 3 times before I finally got a positive, and had passed it on a couple times. So I think the NHL should be more concerned about that, and that's taking a different turn. Is what it's because it's going to happen to another team for sure, right? Don't you
Can't
think?
miss. Yeah, it can't miss. I mean, and what's Ottawa's thanks for coming back tonight? Their first games after being off for a week or 10 days. They're in Colorado.
Oh, good luck.
So they're going to be testing
It's awesome.
the ability to see how they've recovered. So,
not only that, it's like, hey, you had a problem with your lungs? Let's take you a mile high.
Yeah, I know. I feel that's crazy. So we'll see what Ottawa does. There's another team we're hoping to have a little bit better start than they've had, and of course Colorado seems to be waking up. So that's going to be a real tough ask for Ottawa.
Colorado's still got a lot of cap room too, so they're going to get better. So they're going to grab somebody better. What else we want to talk about? Do you want to talk about what do you want to go? Want to go out to what's going on this week? Shall we go? What's going on this week? Or do you want to go? Or do you want? Let's go to Shane. Let's go to Shane DeJong first, shall we?
Okay. Yeah.
We got a little bit of mail. We got this is from Shane DeJong, a young man that we both knew from Terrace, British Columbia. I think he's still living. Yes, according to this. Hey, Bagg. Came late to Orange Slices, but have fully caught up now. Awesome show. That's the first thing I want to put out. He says it's an awesome show.
We can stop there.
Right there, and that's it. And that's all he said. Terrace references are awesome, and Sharp's hockey knowledge is very impressive. I got left out of that one, so Shane.
He just wants me to buy a truck from him.
Here are a couple questions for you guys. Ask Jeff if he's able to taper the knob of his stick on these composites like he used to do with the old Louisville.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I'm going to show you my bronze stick because I broke this, and the trainer took it. I scored. It broke, and so he bronzed it for me. So that's kind of cool. I still have it after all these years. So here's one of the old knobs that they used to put in the top here. This isn't a wooden stick, but what we used to do with the wooden sticks, and I'll show you some of these other ones. Here's a newer stick that doesn't have anything done to the top of it. But this is from our good friend, Gage Quinney. Let's see. It doesn't say his name on this one, but the difference was in the old days, even though they tried to make those sticks as close to as each other as they could, they just couldn't do it. So what we would do is we'd just adjust. Sometimes we'd shave down the side of the stick just a bit to make it a little bit more rounded or try and get some weight off it. And some guys would adjust the knob or whatever they would do up at the top end of the stick. Nowadays, the composites are so light and they're a little bit thinner, but they're so much lighter and thinner. They're so much easier to handle that we just don't. I haven't adjusted any stick. Even when I was near the end of playing, I didn't have to. Once they started coming out with these new sticks that were lighter and a little bit. Some of those old wooden sticks, as you know, Mr. Bagg, Lord Bagg, were like 2x4s. So if you could get some of the weight off them and round them out a bit, maybe it was just in your mind. They felt better.
No, absolutely not. So I went. So yesterday, we went to Lakewood Ice and we watched young Jack Durgish, Jimmy Jurgish's son, and his son play. He's 8 years old, and I'm watching the control and the passing they got going on at 8 years old. And it's definitely because the sticks are so much lighter. There's no way that any of us were doing those kind of passes at that age, because you're just trying to get that lumber to move. And it just makes the game faster and more exciting. And then I went over and my buddy Nick Romero, his son's on the other ice. I had no idea. Two yeah, people just jabbing it in my face that I don't have kids. They're just like, hey, we got our kids playing. I just want to sound like.
Well, I think, I thought you were going to argue with me there. I'm not sure where that no way came from, but the biggest thing is now is the sticks are, they're just made so much differently. Not that there wasn't a lot of craftsmanship in the other ones, but they had to reinforce the wood. This stuff comes out. It's so strong already. I mean, you see the guys breaking them all the time in the NHL. They break them because they don't have to pay for them. But
Yeah.
they're way lighter. I mean, you know what?
Yeah.
Even from the last couple of years.
Bucks. $250 for a stick for an 8-year-old is crazy. But at the same time, I'm sure your dad did this too. I remember him just going and getting a bundle of sticks and saying, and they were straight and you could bend them and stuff and learn with those. And when you break those, I'll buy you another one, So
yeah. Yeah, it's a big difference. Exactly. And these curves now are coming for these guys. And in a lot of cases for the kids, they don't even have to touch the stick. Once they just put some tape on it and away they go.
That's interesting. Yeah, he also brings up that he wants to know if he says, ask Jeff there, is he still the kids he's coaching now? Is he still as hard on them as he was on the kids in the old terrace hockey school? Shane apparently is one of those and hasn't let it go. Apparently, you're mean to him. He wants to know if you're. I don't think you are. I was out. I've been out to a couple practices. I think you're more. I think you've grown with the times. It's not just yip yapping, yelling, and screaming.
Yep. No, absolutely. I'm handing out Starbucks cards to the kids now. That's how much has changed. I'm like, hey, that was a great pass. Have a Starbucks card. But I'm sure we do this just for our own entertainment sometimes.
That's awesome.
Hey, actually, Lord Bagg's going to be. You've seen it out there. So Shane, you know what? That's a great question. I'm so glad that hope things are well and you're doing well. But he brings up a great point. Like, and my dad coached me coming up, and Flats' dad, Ray Flaherty, Vic Zapperzan, Les Thorstenson, dad, my dad, they were never really yellers and screamers. But as we got going through junior, you got to run that guy through the wall. You got to go through the wall, and everything's up, 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 up. And so you kind of are like, okay, that's what I'm, that's how I'm getting coached or subjected to. That's kind of, and when you're running a hockey school or you're trying to do something, you're trying, I think sometimes maybe too hard to make sure that everyone feels that, they're getting their money's worth and the kids are, you're trying to motivate them. It's a little different now, right? And I kind of got away from trying to motivate through voice tactics many, many years ago. And now on the ice with the kids, I think now, and we've talked about it a long time, is you got to grow with things as they change. And I've said it before, is you have to connect with not only the kids, but their parents and everybody else. And you might not connect with everybody, but you got to try. And whether you agree or not, or whether they agree or not, right? And that's what I do on the ice. And you were out there too. You're out there cracking jokes, asking the kids what the drills are. So maybe we should.
I have a completely different style than you do. Yeah. You think I'm an idiot when I do it, but you'll see one kid when I ask them, I'm like, hey, I wasn't listening. How do you do this drill? You'll see one of the other kids explain it, and then one kid, he'll get it all of a sudden. He's just like, oh, that's how you do it. And I still don't get it. I'm like, I don't get it. So I skate away and not do it. So, but yeah, it is like life. It's trying to, you just can't keep forcing it. You can't keep forcing. You got to figure a way to, get. So I like Starbucks cards is the funniest.
Well, one of the things too is you want, you don't want to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher after 10 seconds, right? So, and you can't go on for 4 minutes either. So you got to kind of find the happy medium. These kids have so much going on, not in their lives, but even in the rink, very rarely will you get a team that's on a full sheet ice anymore. So there's sometimes, red line in, sometimes blue line in. There's so much going on the ice. You got to get in, say whatever you want. Normally it's something positive to try and, reinforce. But you also have to try and find somehow how to get them to be able to react if things don't go their way, which they inevitably won't, either on the ice or with a coach, and try and help them with some life lessons. So that, we'll go on for an hour or two with that. But for today, Starbucks cards, and up north, Tim Hortons cards. They work real well.
A Bert's Deli's gift certificate.
Oh, Bert's Deli would be awesome too. Yeah.
He also says if you go next time you guys are up, either one of you come on the ice with him and his bantam rep. So he's coaching. I love the fact that Shane is coaching. I'm guessing he's probably coaching one of his children. One of the things I don't kind of agree with is there's no parents on the bench at any of these. Like there's no assistant coach that is a parent. I think there should be. I think there should be a parent. It should be part of the team, not like a manager, but like that has hockey knowledge. But I guess that's maybe where we live, why that isn't happening. The kids are getting into hockey and the parents have not been played hockey. So I guess I should shut up now. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Got my booster in there.
Oh, did you get your booster?
Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Got Moderna. I went in. I said, I'm going to need my booster. And they said, well, what'd you have before? And I said, Johnson & Johnson. They said, you should have been here a long time ago.
He had public service announcement.
I laughed so hard. Lady's eyes just when you told, we got to get you in there right now.
Yeah, she double masked.
We got one more thing. So this weekend, on Friday night, I'm in Las Vegas doing a show at the Dirty at 10:30 or something like that. But I'm also the wife and the dogs are coming down, and we're coming to hang at the Sharples place. And then on Saturday, what are we doing on Saturday?
We're gonna go and see Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers versus Mark Stone and the Vegas Golden Knights. Hockey night in Canada, coast to coast, and I don't know if it's on TNT or ESPN in the States. I'm guessing they might have college football on that night, but yeah, hey, NHL's on those stations, but right. it still doesn't have it doesn't have top billing. But right. Yeah, hey, they need a surprise for you.
They need a game where they don't pay any of the players to be on that.
You know what? It's funny because I didn't know. I wasn't sure if you were bringing the dogs, but we got a surprise. There's a new sheriff coming to town. We got Easton this weekend too. So
no way. That's awesome.
We got a German Shepherd we're taking care of. So it's going to be a gong show. We're going to have more dogs than people. So that'll be good.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, no. Sorry that I surprised you. Apologize.
No.
Oh, good.
I didn't think you weren't coming without them. So we just had a last minute scratch.
Me when you hang up, that's okay.
All right. Shoutouts? Can we
shoutouts? We'll get that done. Well, we're 37 minutes. So we
got to get out.
We had to give him a little extra this week because we missed last week. So we give him 7 minutes this week and 30 for last week. Jack Campbell taking advantage of his time. Well, they brought in a number one goalie. He's hurt Mrazek, and he's hurt. And Jack Campbell just winning those games. So shout out to Jack Campbell, one of the nicest guys out there, playing hard and getting the wins that he needs. And coming up to the end of this year, he's got a new contract. Like I think he becomes a free agent, right? As a free agent he becomes. So I would expect him to go somewhere and be the starter if he doesn't stay in Toronto.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing to see because Toronto might want to sign him. He's having a hell of a year, but
they don't have any money.
But everything's predicated in Toronto in the playoffs too. So you do this extension and they flame out in the playoffs. I can see them moving money to re-sign him if they do well in the playoffs, but we will see. But sorry. Do you have any other shout-outs?
No, that's my shout out there.
Okay. I got to shout just to yourself. You got to shout out to yourself again this week. I'll shout out to everybody up north in British Columbia that are friends and family. A lot of them have been affected by what was a storm of the century. And Vancouver's been basically cut off from the rest of British Columbia. And so hopefully everybody's doing well up there and we're thinking of you. And that's all I really have. Happy Thanksgiving to all our friends in the States. We're going to have 2 turkeys because Ian just let the cat out of the bag, said he's coming on Saturday. But I'm not sure we're going to be able to have that turkey before the 4:00 game. But anyways, shout out to everyone up in BC that's affected, and I guess Northern Washington by all that rain that they had. Hope everyone's okay. Yeah. And happy Thanksgiving. Love to all.
Nice, Jeff. I'm all like shout out to myself, and then you just so congratulations.
I just shouted out to 3 million people. I don't know how do you beat that?
How do you beat
54.
that? I was just a douche, and you just like, what's that? And push me under a bus. I want to shout out to all the people. We'll see y'all next week. Have a great weekend. I will see you soon, Jeff. Love to all. Hey everybody, thanks for listening again. Make sure you like, rate, and review. You can watch this on YouTube or Facebook, and you can listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. So thanks everybody. We really appreciate you listening. We'll see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving to our American friends, Canadians. Enjoy working Friday, you sons of bitches.